Pluto. Here's your hat.
Well, that's the way the Gorgonzola crumbles.
What a crummy place.
Dizzy Heights is where I am. Hi, you there. Seems like a 3 feet on. I don't see what I mean. Can't go outside because it's lightning. What the hell?
What in the world is this curious place? Dizzy Heights Hotel.
Burglars! Burglars!
It's busy, it's dizzy, and it starts on Thursday. It is, of course, Dizzy Heights at 4:30 here on CBBC. Now, can I take this opportunity to say thank you very much for all the pictures you've been sending in. Kate Williams, this is your picture. It's of your teacher, Mr. Williams. I hope he's no relation. It's a terrible, terrible picture. Look, you've made him look. He's got red eyes, funny hair, a funny moustache, ink splodges on his coat, and very, very knobbly knees. If you would like to send us a picture of your teacher, we may well use it. Send it to this address. It is, of course, Children's BBC, BBC Television, London W12 7RJ. CBBC, BBC Television, London W12 7RJ. Now let's get really wild.
Hello and welcome to the studios here in Bristol for a prehistoric edition of...
That's right, we're going back 70 million years to the time when giant reptiles ruled the earth. The time of the dinosaurs.
Yes, I remember it well. And things were very different in those days. For instance, Europe was covered by a tropical sea, and there were loads of guys like this running around. This is the skull of a dinosaur called Megalosaurus, and this one was dug up on the Isle of Wight. Now, megalosaurs were meat-eating dinosaurs, very fierce, and they had 2 legs and ran around upright like we do, very fast. But just look at these teeth. They're huge, about 5 or 6 centimetres long. Really quite a predator.
But not all dinosaurs were meat-eaters. This is a full-sized model of Corythosaurus, which is a plant-eating dinosaur that lived much later than Megalosaurus. Now, it's in the studio today because we've had a really brilliant dinosaur question from Lucy and Thomas Fish, who want to know, what noises did dinosaurs make? Corythosaurus is a member of a dinosaur group called the hadrosaurs. Now, they lived in herds that were constantly under threat of attack from the big meat-eating dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus. Perhaps their only means of defence was to call to alert each other of danger.
Now, that might actually sound very daft, but when you take a look at this real fossil skull of a hadrosaur, in this case a dinosaur called Lambeosaurus, you'll see there's actually quite a lot of space up here at the top of the head. Rather like my friend Terry.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Right, well, this is the cast of the space inside the head, a large echoing cavity. Now, what it does, it gives us the opportunity to hear what a hadrosaur sounded like 70 million years ago. Here we go. Let's have a go at it. Good?
Terry,
Great.
don't ever play it again.
Oh.
Ever.
Oh, I haven't got dinosaur lungs yet.
I know,
You're not
I know.
James Galway, Terry, I tell you.
Thank you.
Well, fortunately for us, some American scientists have modelled the hadrosaur sound system on a computer so we can hear just what it sounds like. So that's what the Earth may have sounded like in the age of dinosaurs, when dinosaur families like this one roamed the Earth, calling to their young, warning of danger. Perhaps the most sophisticated reptiles ever.
Why do zebras have stripes?
Well, that's a very good question from Jamie Roberts, and you might think that the answer lies in a zebra crossing, because it's modelled on a zebra's stripes and it's designed to stand out so that motorists can see pedestrians when they're crossing the road.
Now, real zebras like Kenya here are prey to animals like lions, Cape hunting dogs and hyenas, and to be seen from a distance is a real disadvantage. Now, Kenya is just over 2 years old, and you can see that his stripes aren't pure black and white. You can see tinges of brown and beige in them. And also, because he's a Chapman zebra, you can see these shadowy stripes at the back here, which are in fact very, very distinctive. Isn't he lovely, Nick?
He's beautiful. Gorgeous, aren't you? So are those zebra stripes really camouflage? Well, the stripes would help the zebra merge with a background of dense vegetation, just like tiger stripes do. But unfortunately for that theory, most zebras spend their time out in the open, where an individual zebra would be about as visible as this crossing. But a herd of zebras is a different matter. Now, we've got our very own herd of zebras right here, hand-picked from the audience. And if we look at them with a lion's eye view, which is mostly black and white, there now you can see those stripes really kind of blur the edges and make it difficult to see which zebra's which. Now, let's put it to the test. How many zebras are there? Come on, shout out. 15, 6. How many? No, you're all wrong, you're all wrong, you're all wrong. Okay, stand up. Let's have a look. Now you see, there are 10 of them. And when all those stripy bodies are all clumped together, it's impossible to pick out one individual zebra. And that's the secret of survival when there are lions around.
And it's also been discovered that zebras have a layer of fat underneath the skin, but only underneath the black stripes here. Now, the fat underneath there stops the heat penetrating. It acts as a barrier, and it keeps the animal cool underneath the hot African sun.
Over here, I've got some really nasty chaps which may play a role in the zebra story. They're tsetse flies. Got a really nasty bite, and they feed exclusively on blood. Now, just to keep these ones happy, we've set them up in a feeding station with a reservoir of blood under the membrane. Tsetse's vision is designed to spot large, plain-coloured animals, so when they're about hunting, they see things like cattle. The zebra's stripes, though, are so narrow and close together that it makes it very difficult for the tsetse flies to actually spot them. Zebras certainly suffer less tsetse fly attacks, so their colouring, the stripes, prove to be a brilliant combination of camouflage, making it confusing for lions on the ground and rendering them invisible to insects in the air.
And there's one last thing about zebra stripes. Every pattern is different. So an individual zebra can recognise members of its own herd by their stripes, as distinctive as a human fingerprint.
So, in fact, there are loads and loads of reasons for being black and white, and a lot of animals are. I reckon it's time for a black and white video.
Black and white, it's like day and night. There's no wrong, just right in black and white. Black and white, black and white, it's like day and night. There's no wrong, just right in black and white. It's alright.
Penguins, zebras, and panda bears
Are black and white like you and me.
we could all learn from the animals.
How life is meant to be, y'all. Black and white, it's like day and night. There's no wrong, just right in black and white. It's alright.
Oh, what a mess. All the dress sense of a tadpole.
Excuse me.
Look, if it's not on a rack, we ain't got it.
Oh, I need some help.
Too right you do.
See, I'm trying to grow, but I can't because my outer skin, these clothes, won't get any bigger.
Look, it's a common enough problem, right? Snakes, lizards, insects, spiders, they all got the same trouble, only they live with it.
How do I manage it then?
they molt their skin, don't they? Look, all you got to do is draw back from your skin, wriggle about a bit inside, then expand, get out of your old skin, and you'll be bigger.
Oh, I'll give that a try. How's that?
All right, now break out of it.
Ah, hey, that's great. I'm much bigger. And I can throw this rotten old skin away.
Oh, no, you can't. You've got to eat it.
Eat it? No thanks.
And what's more, animals do a lot more than just grow, you know.
Yeah? Like what?
Well, caterpillars change into moths when they molt. They reform in a completely different shape with wings and bigger eyes and a tongue instead of jaws.
Oh, pretty neat. I think I'll give that a try.
I don't think that's a very good idea. I told you so.
Oh, no. Look at the state of me. I've gone completely bald. It's terrible.
I think we'd better leave molting to the insects. This week's Really Nasty has got a really nasty bite, some really nasty venom, and most of all, a really nasty reputation. A single bite can kill its prey in just a few minutes, and there's enough venom in this tank to kill 10 people, because in here there are 2 cobras. Come on, Tel, let's take the
lid off.
Very gently.
There we are. Now, these are a Cape Cobra and a white Siamese Cobra, and they are both very dangerous. But that doesn't actually interest us today, because we've got a couple of questions to answer. One is from Matthew Evely, who wants to know why cobras have hoods. And Alexander Raven wants to know how they expand their hoods. Well, there are 2 reasons, really. One, when it's basking in the sun, it helps it warm up a lot quicker, because snakes like warmth. And secondly, when it's being chased by a predator, it'll spread its hood and make it look far bigger and far more aggressive.
The hood is supported by special ribs in the neck that are moved by muscles to fan out sideways and create the display. Now, cobra venom is deadly, but cobras want to save their venom for hunting, and the hood helps them do that because it frightens away threatening animals without the cobra having to bite them. So cobras may be really dangerous, but they're not really nasty.
You know, some simple questions are really difficult, like this one from Ruth Packer.
Are animals right or left-handed?
Well, I reckon we ought to start with humans, because believe it or not, 90% of them are actually right-handed. And you can see the difference between the 2 when you actually start using the wrong hand, like this lot are doing. It's really difficult, isn't it, Nick?
It's almost impossible. Now, it's thought that the left-hand side of the brain is more developed than the right-hand side. It's not bigger, it's just more complex. And the left-hand side of the brain controls the right-hand side of the body. And that means that your right hand is more controllable and more useful. And that's certainly the case with me. Look at that.
And it's certainly the case with me as well. But what about the animals? Well, believe it or not, quite a lot of animals are mainly right-handed, even though they don't have hands. This magnificent chap here is a giant African land snail. Now, obviously they come from Africa. They're the largest snails in the world, and they're mainly right-handed. Now, if you take a look underneath at his foot here, this muscular region, it's very difficult to tell the difference between the left-hand side here and the right-hand side. But it's very obvious if we turn him over and look at his shell, where his vital organs are, that it turns to the right. And it's even more obvious if we can look at these empty shells here. This one, the opening is plainly on the right-hand side, and yet this one, a very rare form of the same species, has the opening on the left-hand side.
And fiddler crabs are either left or right dominant, about equal numbers of each, though 2 left-clawed crabs will find fighting more difficult than left versus right. Elephants will dig for salt or water using a preferred tusk, which will wear down fastest. Here's a left-handed elephant, and here's a right-handed one. And ape mothers, like these gorillas, will tend to carry their young in their left hand, maybe to keep their stronger right hand free.
Now, it's important to be handed because we use our hands all the time. And we've developed a coordination between our eyes and our favoured hand. Now, if you watch carefully, Christopher, you will see, because I'm right-handed, I will get that straight in the ball on the first go. OK? Right, here we go. Look at that. Now, if I use my left hand, are you watching?
I can't bear to watch.
I use my left hand, not quite so good. But there we are. Now you've learnt something, my boy.
There are other animals that can reach and grasp accurately, like these macaws, and they've developed handedness. Now, Sam, if you try giving Bruce on the end a bit of corn, he should reach for it with his favoured claw. Bruce is a right-handed parrot. And what they tend to do is reach out with a claw after they've grabbed it in their beaks. Now, in the wild, macaws feed on Brazil nuts and other hard nuts, and to be able to open them, to crack them open with their heavy beaks, they manipulate them into just the right position using their favoured claw. Now, it's unlikely that macaws have the same differences between left and right-hand sides of their brain that we do, so equal numbers of macaws are left or right-handed. But by being definitely one or the other, they can improve the coordination of their favoured claw through practice and learning. So you see, Ruth, there are lots of animals that are handed, but human beings are unusual because most of us are right-handed.
Well, we all know the Really Wild show has a nose for a good story. Now, here's one from the mysterious Donna. Mysterious why? Well, she wouldn't give her surname. Well, she wants to know how good is a dog's sense of smell. Well, Nick had an amazing time trying to find out. Who writes this rubbish anyway?
Well, Donna, to help answer your question, we've brought in one of the best noses around, and it belongs to Sid here, who's a fully fledged police tracker dog. Now, we've given Sid a very tricky task today because we've brought him and his handler, PC John Jacobs. Hello, John. To Hampton Court Maze to put Sid's nose through its paces. Now, the idea is that I'm going to disappear off into the maze and leave a smelly trail. Now, I can do that because even the cleanest body is home to millions and millions of bacteria that convert the body's natural secretions into a personal, unique body odour. And that is what Sid is going to be homing into when he tracks me through the labyrinth of the maze. Now, I've got a map to find my way about, but Sid is going to have to rely entirely on his sense of smell to sniff me out and follow me to the centre of the maze. And to make sure that you lot can keep track of us, we're each going to carry one of these marker umbrellas. OK, Sid, see you in the middle.
Now, I reckon this is going to be as much a test of my map-reading skills as it is for Sid's nose.
This way. Every day, each one of us loses about 50 million skin cells that rise up on the warm air produced by the body. And then they fall to the ground as an invisible but scented trail that's left everywhere we go. And that's what I'm doing now, laying a trail that Sid will be able to follow with his highly sensitive nose gear.
Tracker dogs like Sid are specially trained to home in on the most recently laid trail and follow it exactly.
Wrong way!
That means if I go down a blind alley, so will Sid.
Right, well into the maze, time to get Sid on the trail.
Sid's off. You can see straight away his head goes down and it looks as if he's already hot on my trail. A nose like Sid's can be 1,000 times more sensitive to a trail than our noses. Gosh, which way now?
This way.
That long domed nose collects and warms the scented air before passing it over a membrane, acutely sensitive to smells. The membrane is actually folded up over a fine mesh of bone, but opened out, it would be about the size of a pocket handkerchief. Our own membrane is only the size of a postage stamp.
Hooray! It's the centre of the maze. Oh, the question is, though, will Sid's nose lead in here too? I've sit down over there and wait for him.
Unlike us, a large part of Sid's brain is set aside simply to analyse smells. So it shouldn't be too long before Sid's nose tracks me to the centre of the maze.
Hey, brilliant. Well done, Sid. Good boy. Well done, John. Good nose work, Sid. But why do dogs need to have such a highly tuned sense of smell? Well, they're social hunters. They rely on a good sense of smell to track down their prey, also to identify members of their own family and to find their way home. We're much more visual animals. We rely on our eyes to give us all that sort of information. Even if I had a trail to follow with such a poor sense of smell and without my map to guide me, I'd still be running around in circles trying to find my way out, I bet. But there's only one way to find out.
Dear, I tell you what, Chris, I've been rushed off my feet tonight. The old fruit juices are going down well. I've been running around everywhere. They're drinking like fish out there.
Funny you should mention that. You know, we've had this order here from Gareth Edwards. Wants to know, do all fishes drink? You may find it hard to believe that fishes can actually avoid drinking. Freshwater fish like these goldfish take in a lot of water through their gills and mouth lining, but they don't swallow it into their stomach like we do. In fact, they spend a lot of time actively getting rid of it to avoid being waterlogged.
Oh, my feet are killing me. Do you fancy a break, Tel?
Thanks, Nicola, but no time. I've got to deliver this barrel to a camel. It doesn't drink for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it drinks 114 litres in one go.
There are some animals that don't drink at all. We'd be out of business selling drinks to gerds like these. Gerds are basically giant gerbils. They come from the deserts of North Africa, and they can't travel long distances like camels can to find water. So they have to get all their water from their food. Now, they eat dry seeds, but as the seeds are broken up and digested in their bodies, they release water. And that's how lots of desert animals survive. Things like kangaroo rats, budgies, even koalas would be rotten customers here at the waterhole.
I'm afraid I've got some more rotten customers over here, Nick. These are darkling beetles, another desert species, but one which gets its moisture from thin air. What they do is line up across the top of a dune at dawn, and the cool, moist air condenses on their bodies, runs in drips down their bellies, and ends up in their mouths.
Amphibians have moist skin, and they can take in a lot of water through it. Now, big toads like these Moorish toads here from North Africa actually take in their drinking water through their skin, and they're even quite happy sitting in their drink.
Those were the real weirdos. But most drinkers use their mouths and their tongues. Now, even our tongues are quite sensitive and mobile. But cats are the real experts because they can lap a bowl dry using a very special tongue. Now, you can see that Cleo here is wiping her tongue across the surface of the milk. And she can do that because she's got a very special tongue covered in little teeth that convert the tongue into an escalator, lifting the milk straight up into her mouth.
Licking your drink up can be really messy, but it is also rather easy, and a lot of animals make it a lot tougher for themselves, don't they, Stuart?
Yeah.
But this is all in the day's work for a butterfly because they have long tubed tongues which can grow to twice the length of their body. If we take a look at this flame butterfly here, you can see why they need such a long tongue, and that is to stretch down to the nectar in the bottom of the flower. You can see it there, stretching all the way down. Now, nectar's really rather sticky, so they need a lot of strong mouth muscles to draw it back up, something which I don't think you have, Stuart. What about trying it through your nose?
No way.
Come on. Well, a friend of Terry's can do just that.
I'll have a gallon of water, shaken, not stirred. This is Opal. She's an African elephant, and she's about 5 years old. Now, elephants are expert drinkers, and what they do is actually suck the water up into their trunk and squirt it into their mouth. Now, they can get as much as 41 centimetres of water into that trunk, and that trunk is really very, very sensitive. Not only do they use it for drinking, but they also use it for finding water. And they just sense in the air like that and smell the water, and they can smell water up to many, many kilometres away.
I'll tell you one thing, Terry.
Yeah.
All of that drinking makes an elephant go to the toilet 18 times a day. So if I was you, I'd watch where you're standing.
That's really interesting, Chris. Thank you very much. What do you think of Opal, Nick?
She's gorgeous.
I'll tell you what, I'd like an inbuilt shower like that. Be superb.
We don't want one, actually,
No,
Terry.
no,
We've come well prepared.
We're just well prepared,
It's
just
not a
in
wet
case.
week
Where's
for
my
us.
umbrella? Anyway, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tomorrow, Expo goes to Japan to look at volcanoes.
The major attraction of the Arso Volcanic Museum is a big screen showing what's going on inside the active crater. These vivid live pictures are thanks to 2 video cameras installed inside the volcano itself. The cameras themselves are only 200 meters from all this action, housed in rigid fireproof booths. From there, they keep a ceaseless vigil, scanning the crater for changes, anything that might hint that a fresh eruption is on the way. When a volcano like Mount Arso blows, you don't get much warning. You might run as fast as you can, but the volcano will outrace you.
Expo tomorrow at 4:35 on CBBC. And that is, of course, after Yogi's treasure hunt. Gentle Ben is only 10 minutes away, but first of all, how would you recycle all this paper? Krishnan Guru Murthy has the answer in News Rounds.
Now you see it, now you don't. The new way to recycle waste paper. And the mysteries of flight unravelled at the Science Museum. Hello. And first tonight, news of an invention that may help lead to much of the world's waste paper being recycled. The build-up of waste is a massive problem across the globe, nowhere more so than in Japan, one of the world's most crowded countries. It's reckoned the rubbish dumps of the capital, Tokyo, will be completely full within the next 18 months. For Newsround, David Powers reports.
The Japanese call this Dream Island, but in reality it's a nightmare. It's where all Tokyo's rubbish is dumped. Nearly 17,000 tons of it every single day. The dream is to build parks and sports grounds, like these on top of other rubbish dumps. The nightmare is there'll be nowhere left for all the rubbish Tokyo produces by the end of next year. A lot of waste paper is already recycled to be used again, but it has to be taken away to special recycling plants. Office copying machines create much of the waste, and that's why a big chemical company has invented something to help offices recycle their own paper, disappearing ink.
This is normal black ink. This is disappearing ink. I will show you how it works.